Welcome into Coach Hayes Hudl. You are live with me on a Thursday night. I have my special guest friend, Seth Saunders from the Preferred Walk-On podcast. I've been wanting to do a show with him for so long now. It was great to get a chance to meet him last year at the Texas game. We got to do a real cool live show at Creature Comforts in downtown Athens. It was a great night, Seth. Got a chance to talk at the tailgate as well. Got a chance to watch the dogs take care of the horns that night too, man. And I think we just had a friendship that blossomed from then on out. I appreciate you being on the show with me tonight, partner. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, brother. Couldn't be better, man. I'm so fired up to be here with you. Love your show. Love what you do, man. It was so much fun in Athens, getting to spend time with you, talk dogs, horns that weekend. And then remember this now too, brother. We are 2-0 together when we're in the same vicinity to watch the dogs. We were also both in the Benz for the dogs dismantling of the Tide in December. So I think, if Kirby wants to be smart this year, he needs to have Coach Hayes and your boy on premises as much as possible.
Hey, Seth, using a little word pun there, a little wordplay on being smart with having us both there. You're exactly right, my friend. It's always great in this business as I've worked through it as well. You know, this is not our full-time gigs of what we do, but we do enjoy and we do have that that fandom of the program that we love to see play. But we're also just a fan of football, and I think that's what makes this grow, and I think that's what makes this network so special. And I appreciate you being in here with me tonight. I'm going to give you a chance later on in the show, and those of you who are watching us live, who might be catching us by way of YouTube, by X, by Twitter, of course, both same thing, by Facebook, and even maybe part of the Patreon right now. Get a chance to, put your chats in there. We'd love to be able to talk to you. If you have any questions, we're definitely going to be displaying those during the course of this evening. We got a great show for you tonight, and we want to talk to you real quick about the different segments that we're going to be hitting on. So as you look and see, we're going to be talking right out of the gate, the Coach Speak segment about Steve Smith saying what? I don't know what really he was thinking when he said this, but we've got a lot of things to unpack and unravel with that situation. Definitely in Coach Hayes Huddle section, we're going to be talking X's and O's. I'm going to be asking Seth about some opportunities that we want to see at the G-Day game from not only just the fan perspective, but as, when you look at the total team perspective as well as what the coaches expect and what those true expectations are when you leave the spring headed into summer play. And in our hunker down session, we're going to be talking about the really retrospectively, what is happening to this new paradigm of college football. We have a disgruntled fan base now, not just with Georgia, but across the entire college football landscape. I think there's this disgruntledness that a lot of the college fans are experiencing nowadays and feeling nowadays. And what I want to do is try to put that out on the forefront. And maybe Seth can bring us some insight on talking us back off the ledge as fans in this new college football paradigm. But let's just get right to it, Seth. We're going to talk about real quick Steve Smith making these comments with James Parker on just a typical podcast show. They're basically looking at expectations of new receivers in the pre-draft situation, specifically talking about Zachariah Branch, Dylan Bell. And this is some things that Steve Smith had to say. Instead of really talking about the assets of what those wide receivers did this year with the University of Georgia, he decided to go towards an attack Gunner Stockton. I'm just going to let you listen to it here and we'll reflect on the backside.
I don't know the young man's name and I don't want to, because the way I've watched him play quarterback, hell, I'm irritated just watching it. Goodness gracious. Quarterback play from the Georgia Bulldog. Awful. Dog doo-doo. As a wide receiver, I'm going on strike, right? I'm not working or running a route until I get a better quarterback, and holler at your boy when you get it.
So he basically says, Seth, holler at your boy when you get a better quarterback because I'm done until then. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you this. As a coach, I respect, obviously, at the elite level and the highest level of play that an NFL player can be at. Steve Smith fits that category. But also, too, I find that even though you may have a kid that was an elite athlete and someone who definitely excelled at the NFL, sometimes their takes can be a little hyperbole, can be a little exaggerated, and sometimes be just downright egregious. I want to just kind of get your insight to what you feel about what Steve Smith said right there and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, man, it's just what a ricochet shot, right? Like of all the people to kind of pile on Gunner Stockton, who by all accounts, man, I'm not just talking about this, somebody who follows Georgia, passionate about it, but man, you don't ever hear anybody in college football saying bad things about Gunnar Stockton, right? And I just feel like if you're a football player and a football guy, how do you not respect how that kid plays the game, man? Lays his body out there every single week. I mean, just putting it on the line for his teammates and the logo on his helmet and the name on the front of his jersey. Like, how do you not love that? And if you're a guy that's a receiver, a running back, offensive lineman, how is that not a guy you want to play for and lay it all on the line for? And so, I don't know, man. I didn't get it. And, here's the thing, too, Coach, is you talk about, and seemingly this was coming from, oh, well, Zachariah Branch could have had X, Y, and Z or done X, Y, and Z. And, I seem to remember him transferring in from USC, didn't have great numbers, didn't have a lot of hype. In 1 year in the Georgia offense with Gunnar Stockton distributing the football, he eclipses his receiving numbers, not only with receptions, but with yards that he had both years while he was at USC, and put himself in a position where he's going to play on Sundays now and make himself some money doing something that he loves. So I just didn't understand it, man. I didn't understand it at all. And yeah, it just kind of is what it is, I guess.
It is. And it's something I think you look at it for. First off, it gets the clickbait mentality, which is what obviously we are pulled into as well with this. But I think it attacks the integrity of what Gunnar Stockton is trying to prove over the course of a year. If I'm a coach, I know that Coach Smart went on to a show, and we're actually going to show the reflection of his thoughts on that as well here in just a second. But when I look at it from that perspective, I could give no crap about what he thinks about my players, first and foremost. Secondly, when you look at someone making those kind of comments on the outside, and it seems to be more for the freshness of the take versus actually watching film and showing what Zachariah Branch was capable of. If you think about it, he was basically a Swiss Army knife. He's a guy that can take it from the slot. He was a guy that basically was a running back as a wide receiver. You get the ball in his hands as quick as you can. That's the reason why you look at the total receptions that he had this year and why they wanted to get the football to him and could have got it to him, tried to even more at times. And, to get a guy that has the ability to use his ability to make people miss, his yards after catch are what are important. And that to me is not what was watched on film. And what I find him wanting to attack Gunnar Stockton was really, to me, just outside the lines, outside the boundary lines to someone who leads this team. Because when you listen to Coach Smart talk, I think it fits that framework of what we're trying to mention here, what you said, what I've said about this situation. I really like how Kirby sums it up here, and I wanted to reflect on that as well. We listen up to Kirby right here on the Salini Show.
Gunnar would be the first to tell you he wants to be more efficient. He wants to be more explosive. That comes with having explosive playmakers around him. That comes with having an offensive line that gives him time to do it. That comes with his legs, which he did last year and had explosive plays through his legs. It's just all around, how do we become more explosive, and then how do we become a better turnover machine on defense? Because ultimately, you want to be really good on offense, you need to be good on defense. They complement each other. So him specifically, there's all kinds of things he can do to get better, but it revolves around a lot of guys doing things around him better.
Does the quarterback get too much of the credit and too much of the blame? I bring it up because Steve Smith, longtime NFL receiver, a couple of days ago on his podcast, said that Gunnar Stockton, didn't mention him by name, but said the Georgia quarterback is not good. So when you hear things like that, what's your response?
Do your homework. Do a little more homework. I think if you look at small sections of it, there's things he can do better. You look at the total body of work he has, it's been really good. And I think it's only going to get better with experience. I don't really know Steve Smith personally. I got nothing to respond to him. I don't really worry about what he says. I worry about, do we win football games and do we produce? And, when I look at the stats and I say, who has the most wide receivers drafted in the last 7 drafts? There's only one team in the country that has more wide receivers drafted than us over 7 years. That's a pretty good stat. When you throw in tight ends versus pass catchers, we're first over 7 years. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a bad thing. When you look at passing in the SEC over 5 years, and I think you can only look across your conference, we're top 2 passing over 5 years in our conference. I mean, there's multiple quarterbacks in that. That's a Stetson, Carson, Gunnar era. But when you're top 2 in something in the SEC, that's pretty good. So people look past a lot of things, and they're going to judge Gunnar based on a throw or a play. Judge him based on his toughness, his intangibles, the throw.
That was some really good stuff by Coach Smart. You could tell he did a little bit of work, and I know we all, especially myself too, Seth, I've cherry-picked even Coach with, Gunner in relationship to his passing scheme, his 3-step, 5-step game, how they utilize him, what is his strengths, what is his weaknesses as well. But I look at it as a mindset to advocate for an athlete to be better and to see those improvements, which I think they're already working on in the spring. I think Coach Smart stands behind that as well. Your thoughts as you hear the reflection from Coach Smart about what Steve Smith said?
I mean, let's just start here, right? Does Kirby Paul Smart ever miss in the media? He always has a plan. He's always going to stand up for his guys. He's always going to advocate and stand up for his program. And he did an excellent job of it there. So, I mean, I'm not surprised at all with the response he had. And I think he framed it perfectly, as you would expect him to do, which is, hey, man, we're consumed here with winning football games. That's what our program's about. And the guy that we had leading the program last year, he won a lot of football games and put new hardware in our trophy case. And those are the things that the guys in this locker room are concerned about. And I think that's what you stand on, man. And I think the thing too, look, you can have both arguments with Gunner. You can have the intangibles and you can have the tangibles. All right. And you and I talked about this Texas weekend off air. Are there things Gunner can improve on? Yes. But guys, first-year starter in the SEC, and he has the year that he has. He protects the football extremely well, gives his football team a chance to win every weekend. He runs the football and puts points on the board that way. And it's a different way. Dedicate thing or get lost in. And so I love what Kirby said. I love that he stood up for him. And look, man, the intangibles, what we can't measure, that may be Gunner's best. That's the thing that guys line up behind and say, this is the guy I want to play for. This is the guy that I feel super comfortable leading this offense and leading this program. So I thought Kirby handled it well. And I think too, don't get it twisted. If you don't think they are going to remember this all summer and in the weight room with Coach Sinclair and on the bulletin boards, come on, bring all of it, because it's going to come out come fall when they tee the ball up and line it up between the hedges and all around the SEC.
Well said, Seth. And something I really like from a head coach's perspective is you back your actual players' play with the stats of what you've seen and what has been produced. And he is just in the beginning, the neogenesis of his career. And he's really going to probably settle in with his career stats over these 2 years, the previous year and obviously this year, and what he does and how he installs through this year as well. And I think it's one of those things that when you look at the totality of what you want as a football program, it's all about the team effort in this case scenario. And as Steve Smith wanting to do, he's wanting to isolate one guy only, and say the quarterback play is doo-doo, is terrible, and doesn't realize that we just took one of the youngest Georgia teams that Kirby Smart has coached in his 10-year decade and still won an SEC championship with him this year. And there was a hell of a lot of good throws made by that Gunner Stockton, number 14, and a lot of great plays made by him during the course of the year that if it's not made by number 1-4, that we're not winning those ball games. So I'm really looking forward to see how he progresses, but also too in that mindset, we always do it progressively in a way that's going to strengthen and advocate for what you're doing as a program versus one isolated player being the only person on the team that justifies your wins or losses. Well said, my friend. This segment was brought to you by Georgia Sports Autographs, built for collectors by collectors. We've got a great actual show for you this weekend. We're going to be in Athens downtown at the Classic Center. There's going to be a signing by Stetson Bennett, Dan Jackson, Oscar Delp, and Keely Ringo are going to be there as part of Georgia Sports Autographs. They have taken care of me. We have been affiliated now for over the past year, have truly enjoyed working with this program. And I just wanted to show you, if you have the opportunity, make sure that you scan the QR code that you see, get a chance to go to their website and search out any quality merch that you would like with them. We'll be right back after this segment. Man, I cannot wait for this. I've been working with Roger and Sam now for over a year, and I've truly enjoyed what they've done. As you can see, the paraphernalia behind me hanging on the wall. I know Seth as well enjoys that too. You can see the stuff on his wall too. But really enjoy what they do, and definitely excited to be a part of that. They're going to be at the Classic Center downtown Athens. We're going to be doing some pre-work at 8:30. They're going to be basically start signing at 9:30 all the way up to 11, and that is prior to the G-Day game and the kickoff at 1 o'clock in Athens this coming Saturday on the 18th. So please don't miss it. If you're down there in Athens and you're at the Classic Center, if you see me, please say hello, shake my hand. I definitely want to meet those people that are watching the show. We appreciate you being a part of Coach A's Huddle tonight. Seth Saunders with me from the Preferred Walk-On podcast. Appreciate you being here with me tonight, Seth. As we move into the second segment, we're looking at spring ball, and obviously everybody's anticipating the Georgia Bulldog 2026 team. And, you know, when we go into the actual acts of spring ball, I know I have a feeling about the way I want to see it played out versus just the typical fan wanting to go watch their beloved Georgia Bulldogs. So what I wanted to do, Seth, is I wanted you to kind of take a step into the fans' shoes per se. And you're there at the G-Day game for the 2026 team. We've got a Gunnar Stockton returning quarterback. We've got a lot of new faces that are replacing different positions, but also too have a lot of returning talent coming back as well. So my thoughts to you are basically, if you take a just sort of a snapshot helicopter view as a fan, as you come into the G-Day game on spring, what is the fan perspective watching the Georgia Bulldogs going into the 2026 season?
Yeah, Coach. I mean, I think first and foremost, it's your first chance to see them, right? This is going to be the group that you're seeing line up between the hedges for the 2026 football season. So this is your first chance to give them a look, see how they look getting off the bus, as you would say. You know, I remember going to G and the two of us looking at each other and go, this sideline looks different than I remember it in the past. And you kind of started thinking then, they got a chance to be something. Like the level of athlete that's here, the size that's here. This looks like the teams we saw hoist trophies for other universities in years past. And so I think that, right, is you get a chance to look at this roster, see them on the field, see pads popping, all those type things. I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is an opportunity for the players and the coaches to put things on film and to have film to look and evaluate at. But if you're a fan, you're there to get to know your football team, get to know new faces, see how the kids that were on the team last year that were maybe part of the 2 deep or 3 deep have developed, have grown in Coach Sinclair's strength program, how they look now, who's going to get reps this year that didn't get reps last year, who could be a contributor on special teams, all these things. So I think it's your chance as a fan to familiarize yourself with the team that you're going to bleed and live and die with all fall long.
Very well said, my friend. When you look at it from a coach's perspective coming in, I know what I'm doing. If I'm sitting down in the stands, the first thing I've got is my notebook. I'm looking at who they're going to bring out personnel-wise. So we know that Gunnar Stockton is QB1. There's no doubt about it. We look at the contention between the Ryan Puglisi, Ryan Montgomery war of QB2, QB3, but I hear great things about Hezekiah Millender. I still hear great things about Bryson Beaver, but I still think you have to isolate those two guys and compartmentalize them into two different groups. You look at two fighting for the 2 and 3 spot and then the other two fighting for the remaining 2 spots, but still the competition should be great there. So after we see Gunnar probably go through, I would say a couple of series on both sides. I don't know if it'll be 1 series. It might be 2 series because obviously it's spring ball and I know they want to get some plays, some meaningful reps on tape. So once that happens, it's going to be the Ryan wars between the two. I want to see what Pug and Montgomery can do. I've heard so many things, but I don't know if these guys are throwing the successful go routes against the 2s and the 3 defenses. I want to see them go against the 2s or the 1s and see how they compete at that level. I hear a lot of things. Puglisi's got a great arm. His arm talent's out the window, but also too, he's the one who seems to turn the ball over the most. Ryan Montgomery has more of a layered throw concept. He's not as strong in the arm, but he's very cerebral, makes good decisions, puts the ball in places where only his receivers can catch. So I hear those kind of things. I want to see those things take place. So as a coach, I'm really excited about the personnel matchups that we're going to get. I'm really excited to see who does he truly start at center. Is it going to be Cortez Smith? Is it Malachi Tolliver? How much is that White-Helton going to be put in there at those guard positions or whatever he's going to be doing as well? I'm going to be looking at that offensive line rotation. No doubt watching the defensive line rotation. And I'm always thinking, because I know the strength at linebacker, I'm really curious to what the safety cornerback umbrella is going to look like back there. Are they going to leave Khalil Barnes at nickel? Are they going to put, Rayshawn Dinkins back at strong safety? Who's going to be those different combos of safeties that we're going to see with the first team? So what I would like to say, Seth, is that as a coach, you have sort of this pre-imagined thought. When you start spring, you've got your board up there, your depth chart, and you're looking at it and you're trying to understand, okay, I really want this kid here. I want this kid here. And as practice goes on, you realize all of a sudden, okay, there's more comfort in him being here. He seems to be a lot more adaptive to what he's doing in this position. Man, he came up and showed out today. I really liked his motivation. Great practice player. Let's see if he can transition that into some meaningful reps. All those things take place so that when you leave spring and they finish the G-Day game on Saturday, you feel like you have sort of a matured depth chart. And that's very important as seeing what you had pre-spring to what you've got going into the summer. And a lot of that has to do with injuries. I know the defensive end room and the outside linebackers room with Coach Knight are definitely down one now with the news we heard about Amaris Williams going down yesterday. Just real quick thoughts on that. I know we wasn't really going to talk necessarily about that, but just since we brought it up, does Amaris Williams injury, is it something that we look at and go, we're just dead to the world now because of his injury, or just your thoughts on that process?
Yeah, I mean, look, first and foremost, you always think about the kid, right? You're talking about a kid chasing a dream, has loved this game his whole life, wants to play on Sunday. He transfers to a program where he thinks gives him the best shot of doing that and competing for a national title. And now he's got a long road back to get back to where he was. So you hate that for the kid. You hate that for his journey. From the program perspective, is it a blow? Sure. There's a reason they went out in the portal, targeted him, and got him. The flip side of that is this is the game, baby. I mean, look, you have got to be deep. To have the mindset, I'm in and let it rip. And I think that's where they're at now. It's just next man up. If you're going to talk about this, is if there is a positive, it happened now and not week 3 in the fall. So you can actually get some guys prepared. Tell some guys, hey, look, man, it's your shot now. Go out there and let it eat. Do what you're supposed to do. Do what we brought you here for. And at the end of the day, if you're on this roster, this is why you came to Athens, is to play and be in those big time games and big time roles.
I think that's well said too. And I had kind of gotten a conflict on Twitter about some people talking about that we needed to backtrack off the way we practice, because that would have probably helped Amaris Williams not getting hurt. Guys, you can't go out there with these guys in this glass box and just break it when ready to have these guys ready to go. You got to go out and practice with the same mentality every day. Injuries are part of the game. You can't do anything about it. And in this case scenario, I believe it was a non-contact injury anyway. So it's not like you're going out there and doing anything that you wouldn't be doing anyway. You wouldn't expect that to be any different any day of the week with Coach Smart's practice regimen and how he does things. And guys, those of you who think that this was done the wrong way and why he got hurt for the wrong reasons, unfortunately don't get it. Because if you play that way and you coach that way and that's how you run your team is going to be as fragile as a snowflake all year long, and you're not going to have a very competitive football team. You've got to go out with a mentality every day and not worry about those things. And if you think that you're worried about your kids getting hurt, then you don't need to be a coach. You don't even need to necessarily fan on that, because you're going to have to deal with injuries. That's part of sucking it up. It's psychological. It's mental. It's tough. Like Seth said, you hate it. You hurt for that guy. You really want to see him go out there and ball out this year. We all wanted to see it happen. It's probably the number one recruit from the portal that we got, I felt like, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that was going to contribute the most this year. So, my heart goes out to him as a player. You hate that as a coach. You're definitely sitting there just feeling bad for him, but you must go on. And that's part of the game. That's part of coaching. That's the mental psyche that you got to have in regards as well. So, that's something you just got to understand and move forward on. But my condolences for him and what he's going to have to go through this year. ACL recovery is not the best thing, but I just hope and pray that, as you said, Seth, that he can continue his career, and hopefully there's no problems for him down the road, that maybe he's still an NFL draft prospect as we move through the next few years. To finish up what we're looking at, is there any one personnel group that needs to show out enough or do enough to prove or disprove our thoughts about them either way? I'm going to go ahead and preface before I let you start. We know that probably the strengths of our team is the linebacker core on the defense, the tight end room on the offense. Now that's not putting anything aside to what our running backs are doing and what our wide receivers are doing. Obviously, our defensive back and secondary and our defensive line are doing. There are special players in all those personnel groupings. But I would have to say, if you called the alpha personnel group on both sides, it would be the linebackers on defense. It would be the tight ends on offense. What do you feel as a fan, as someone who's watched the program and seen it grow and knowing what we've got coming back? What do you feel like? Is there any personnel group out there that's really got to solidify anything about G-Day to make us feel a little bit better as we go into the summer?
Well, look, man, I think, when what you do and what I do and what we do as folks that watch the game and comment on the game is we try to overcomplicate it sometimes. And it's a simple game, coach. You got to block people and you got to control the line of scrimmage. And so I think for me, I'm looking at the defensive line and the offensive line always, because if you are stout in both of those spots, you got a chance in every football game that you play in come fall. And so that's the thing I'm going to be looking at the most is let's see how the offensive line looks. Let's see what the D-line rotation looks like. Who am I seeing? Who's flashing on the D-line that I didn't know about or notice last year? How has Elijah Griffin progressed? Is he going to be the next Georgia game wrecker that we see drafted day one in the NFL draft? These are the things you start looking at. And I think on the offensive line side, you want to see how have certain guys progressed. I think there's a lot of talent in that offensive line room, and I think they got the opportunity to do something really special. And I think obviously Saturday is the first time we get to see all that. So those are the two units I'm looking at. The rest of it, I think, will fall into place. But if those two units can be elite, look out, baby. Georgia's going to be a problem to deal with.
And let me extend on that because you're speaking my love language, Seth, when you talk about O-line, D-line play, because that's exactly what I want to see as well. And let me tell you this, when you look at it from the perspective of a G-Day game, what you're looking for is some consistency. When you watch them play, there's going to be some mess ups. We're going to have some snap count infractions probably. You might have a bumbled snap every once in a while. But I think if you see more consistency from the offensive line play, where you're seeing the running backs jolt through for about 2 or 3 yards here or there, or you see a nice little play action and the pocket sets up very nice for our quarterback to make a throw under a 4-second window and not be stressed. Those are good things to see from the offensive line perspective. You really want to see that group work as a unit. I think that's very important to see. So as a fan watching the game, look for consistency. Don't necessarily have to have the pancake blocks right out of the gate. We certainly don't necessarily have to sit there and see us, honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't want to see 10 and 12 and 13 and 15 yard runs because that means your defense is typically getting stroked. And that's something you don't want to see. From my experience, defensively, I typically want to see the defense hammer the offense a little bit more and make it hard on the offense to move the football. That's the signs to me of a good football team, honestly, believe it or not. I know it's crazy. Some of the best offensive teams that I've ever coached in high school, we would go out for our spring game and we would come off the field, scratching our head going, what in the world is going on? Because our defense would just play lights out. Because guess what? All they got to do is read and react and get to the football. We're trying to, when you look at an offense, I say we, because I'm thinking about my offense. I think about it from a perspective. You're trying to put people together, the right pieces together into a chemistry experiment and see the ebb and flow of how things work together. Who works well in these certain schemes? Who works well in these certain personnel groups? Who do we like when we want to do this play action and when we want to bump this to the wide side of the field and run the backside, whatever we're doing? There's so many things that go into play. So don't get frustrated if you think the offense is sputtering. That just means we've got good defense. One's playing great against ones, and we're wanting to see how the offense can respond to that. So think about that, ladies and gentlemen, as you watch this game, as we televise this game. I think, Seth, is it us and like Texas A&M maybe, I think, is the only two SEC schools that are streaming their actual game scrimmage day. So I think that's really cool to see. So I'll just get your final thoughts as we move into our next segment here.
Yeah, man. I always say about the spring game, you just got to breathe it in, right? G-Day is your first taste of the year, and it's also the last taste that you get for a while. And you got to breathe that in because after this is gone, we're not seeing pads pop until late August, early September. So that's the one piece of it. And if you are blessed enough to get to be there on Saturday and be in Sanford Stadium and be on campus in Athens, by my money, the greatest college town in all of these United States, man, just enjoy it. It's always a special time to be there with your family, with your friends, with the community and fellowship that you have with folks that love something as much as you do. So don't miss it, man. Breathe it in and enjoy it.
Very well said. Mr. Fletcher Williams, they're streaming it. I believe it's part of the ESPN streaming broadcast. So it's the one that's probably the weakest of all the ones they've got. It's the ESPN Plus streaming network that they have, if I'm not mistaken, that it's on. So if you do have that network, you do have that capability, you will be able to watch the game, visually on your phone or on your app if you have it on your TV with your smart TVs, things of that nature. So, when we were talking a while ago, Seth mentioned the offensive line, and something I'm really excited about, nothing against Stacey Searles. Stacey Searles is from my hometown. I grew up with the Searles family. I know them very well, and I'm a big fan of Stacey Searles. But he has stepped down this year to take on an analyst role, which, as you can see, he's still out there coaching. But he has let Phil Rosser take over that not head coach, but the offensive line head part to that. And I think he's doing a jam-up job so far. And one of the cool things that they did, this is courtesy of Georgia football, they mic'd him up for a practice, man. And this gets my competitive juices flowing, my coaching juices flowing. And I want to let you watch this. As you watch this, it's going to then lead into a little bit of an offensive segment that I want to talk to you about. And that is the tight end room. I think the tight end room is something, as I told you a while ago, is one of the massive strengths that we have offensively this year. I think it's not only going to help look at what we can do from the 11, 12, 13 personnel, heck, 14 personnel, but also that's what's going to help our wide receiver room out. And I don't think you realize a great tight end room helps complement your wide receivers. So those people who are worried about the wide receiver room, I think you're going to see a nice mix between that. So I want you to watch the Phil Rosser show, get a laugh out of it. He tickles the crap out of me listening to him, because this is exactly the way I get after it on the field. If you want to see a Coach Hayes, this is Coach Hayes Jr. right here, going at it out here with his offensive line. And then we're going to lead into the video, and we'll catch you back on the flip side to it. I hope you enjoy.
Sorry, I yelled. That's my fault. I forgot you guys are listening. Let's go! Good. Got him reach. Good. You got him reach. Good job. There. Good. Run. Good. All right. Keep straining. Yeah, finish. Now run. Hit. Open. Go. Hit it. Strike. Finish. Back. Hurry. Fast. I'm trying to set the width of the pocket. So as fast as I can get here to set the width of the pocket. Run him. There it is. Run him. Keep running him. Don't stop your feet. Run. Good. Keep going. That's it. That's all it is. Great job. I'm right here, right? Come and get me. You see how much power I'm generating? I'm not going like this. You see that? I want it right there. Again, pad level down. Play with knees bent. Hit. Good, Mike. Perfect. Ready? Run him. Got it. Good. Go. I want you running right here. Ready? Go. I trust you. Good. Ready? Hey, go. Bam. Perfect. Get him. Good. Finish. Right. Nice. Hands. Good. Set it down. Right. Good. Here you go. Feet back. Good. Here you go. Come on. Cover. Right there. Good.
I prepared to look at my offensive depth charts as we work down through the system. I've been talking about the offensive line, the wide receivers on Patreon here lately. And what I wanted to incorporate as we move into is a big segment on our tight ends, because to me, along with our running backs, is the strength of our game. And honestly, when you run a pro style offense, you want your tight end game to be strong. Todd Hartley has been recruiting the Celestials right now, and we know that we are stacked in the tight end room. So we're going to talk about just base formations of how we use these guys. And you got to understand, Ethan Barbour couldn't be used during these times because he was hurt with a dislocated ankle against Austin Peay. So Elyiss Williams seemed to be the go-to person in this situation. What we have here is basically 11 personnel. So let me talk about 2026 Georgia real quick. If you have 2026 Georgia, I could easily see this in 11 personnel with Nate, Chauncey, Dwight, anybody basically in the backfield. Dante, you got at the Z position, say Talyn Taylor. You've got at the H position, Sacovie White-Helton. You've got at the X position, Isaiah Canyon. And here you got Elyiss Williams in the Y position. So 11 personnel, one tight, one running back in this situation. And they're going to bring the box right here. So they're locked over the top of this in basically a cover one. And what they're going to run here, what's called a high-low game. It used to be in the old times where you would have basically some type of curl route, a hitch route, which was the low game. And the outside guy would run a corner route. And typically you did that a lot of times when the teams ran cover two, where you had two high safeties on the hashes and you ran away from the safety on the corner. But when you have just true cover two look or a cover one look right here in this case scenario, you've got a guy man to man, so you don't mind playing that same game. You occupy that corner right here and keep him low, and what you're going to do is you're going to push the slot fade. You're going to run his outside shoulder, you're going to push and try to get outside, and it just becomes a 50-50 ball. And I think this is something that's going to be very important for us with the tight ends that we have. Like I'm saying, we have got guys in this position right here that have the ability to make this catch, and he is not the only one. He's one of 5 that could possibly do that. Now I'm going to rewind this right here. I'm going to talk to you about the opportunities that you have at the Y position when you're bringing the box and you have no inside leverage help right here, and all you got is the free safety. Could you imagine if you have this and you come back to it later and you say, okay, Jaden Reddell, okay, Ethan Barbour, okay, Elyiss Williams, okay, Kaiden Prothro, whatever it may be. I want you to outside stem him, and I want you to slant him right here and see what you have out of this. Now we get the dagger on this side. We're getting the double digs. And a lot of people say, well, we could have thrown it to Zachariah Branch right here and he would have been open as well. But guys, I want you to understand this is a played call in the huddle. They called this. They wanted to go to him now. And I know you're saying, well, there he is wide open. He's not looking at that because that is a play call. That's on coach. That is one of those where you say it's just on coach. Coach calls that. You want to go to it, and it almost succeeds, okay? You can sit there and talk about, well, he should have gone backside to this. There was no backside to this unless he had gotten just somehow flushed and couldn't have made that throw to that play side, might have come back to the other side. But his intention on the helmet, when he's being talked to in the helmet. I go ahead to another game here that I'm sure you're very well aware of, where we're running the base same formation. I'm going to back it up here just a little bit. You still have this 11 personnel concept. There's your Z, your Y, your H, and your X. I believe that's Kobe Young at X, Zachariah Branch at H. All right. Elyiss Williams at Y, and you got London Humphreys at your Z. All right. So same situation. This could be London, Ethan Barbour, Jaden Reddell, Lawson Luckie, Kaiden Prothro, Elyiss Williams. All right. And then you've got Sacovie White-Helton, Landon Rolden at that slot position. That could be CJ Wiley, Isaiah Canyon, Tyler Williams. There's no telling. The options are limitless in your personnel right here. But you're going to see the same situation. You're going to get the high-low game. London's going to run basically a quick hitch option right there to hold this low guy. And now you've got the slot fade to your inside receiver. It's one-on-one. Almost the same throw in the Auburn game, but this time Elyiss and throw. You want to hold the safety. Look where his eyes were prior to. You can see him holding that safety middle of the field prior to, and then bam, he's turning and throwing it right a loop right here. I see a loop coming around that maybe Juan Gaston might have chased. Juan and Ernest Green on the same side. Yep, he's going to chase that. Let Ernest Green have that. He's going to get the loop. You got to get the loop, my friend, right there. That's something we got to take care of. Just money. So you can tell I'm a little bit excited there, Seth, not only in the tight end play, but obviously I had to coach up a little bit there on the offensive line where we had the X-stunt get to us there on a Juan Gaston freshman. But before I want to get your thoughts on the tight end game before we move on to our last segment. But guys, those of you who enjoy the breakdowns that I do, this is one of thousands that I do over the course of the season. And if you like what you see, you can be a part of that through my Patreon. I have a tier 1 and a tier 2. I also have free membership where you can look at free previews. Tier 1 membership gets you all the player analysis, recruit analysis. You're also entered into special merch as well for drawings monthly. And that's tier 1 for basically $5 a month. For $10 a month, you not only get all the perks of tier 1, but you also get all 22 film. I do the tight copies. I do the wide copies. I do request. If you want to see all Nate Frazier's runs against Oklahoma this year, I can break those down for you. That's what I do. As a coordinator coordinator and what I did with football, I enjoyed that, and that's something I really enjoy doing. So if you do get a chance, maybe if you're catching this live or you are catching this later on podcast, get a chance to scan the QR code that you see there. Go in and just dive into all the things you want to see. There's a lot of intro information in there. It takes you to a lot of my social media platforms, and just get a little bit more of what's going on with Coach A's Hudl. We appreciate you being with us tonight. Seth Saunders joins me from the Preferred Walk-On podcast. I've really enjoyed him in here with me tonight. As we talk about this going forward, my friend, what's your thoughts looking at that tight end room?
Well, I have said this before, but I got to tell you, man, that room is full of alumni of Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. It is just mutants everywhere. Coach Hartley has a pipeline from Professor X's finishing school, and those boys never disappoint, man. I mean, it's just the talent in that room year over year is unbelievable. And you look at the strides that Lawson Luckie took last year and what you can expect out of him this year. And then goodness, man, Elyiss Williams, like, I feel like if they can open Pandora's box with him, it could just be, I mean, he is going to be a problem for SEC defenses and defensive coordinators. He is going to be probably the winner of coaches having sleepless nights, right? Like, he is just going to cause so many sleepless nights for defensive coordinators. And yeah, man, that room is outstanding. I think the other big piece of it is they block well. And so you can't get on the field if you can't both for a Kirby Smart football team. And so it's so exciting. If you're a Georgia fan, you got to be fired up about it.
Without a doubt. And I like how you finished that too, because a lot of people don't realize, they think it's just lining up and going and catching footballs. If you can't line down in a 2 tight end personnel set, 12 personnel, 13 personnel, and be able to move the line of scrimmage with hands-on work, then you're not going to be on the field either. So you've got to understand there's a two-way road when it comes to it. You're going to get an opportunity to catch the football, but you got to block for the running backs as well. You got to open up those holes, and I think that's imperative to see. Appreciate you being with me here tonight, Seth. As we move into the third segment here, this is brought to you by Backer Equipment, gear worthy of your devotion. You can see here just a disgruntled fan on the sideline of a Georgia game, I'm sure, probably just hating the fact that the Dogs are maybe losing the game or just have lost the game. And but that's not the reason why I've got this gentleman on the screen. The reason why I've got this guy on the screen here is because what I wanted to talk to you about is in this new, I want to call it the new paradigm of what we see in college football. We have seen NIL changes. We have seen all these different stakeholders change with money, and affiliations of money, the allocation of funds, revenue sharing, all the different things with the transfer portal and things that have kind of been just sort of up in the wind. Feels like this big, huge tornado of just junk. And it seems to have put the typical college football fan, not just Georgia fans, but all fans, into this sort of mindset of just that uneasy pit in your stomach feeling. And what I wanted to talk to you about real quick is a couple of things. I know we can't obviously make any changes. I do know this, that they actually have looked to do one thing that I really would like to see done, and I'll talk about that after your reflection here. But as you look into, this new paradigm, even since really Georgia won the back-to-backs, let's bring some people back off the ledge. What do you think there's going to be something done in college football that's going to change the way we think about it and help bring us back to sort of that sanctuary that we used to love and know to watch?
Yeah, I kind of look at it in 3 pillars, Coach. And one of them is calendar. One of them is amount of time to extinguish your eligibility. And then the money, right? I think those are the 3 you have to look at this. And the first one for me, and the biggest one, is calendar. There was some news that came out today that they are actively looking at that and looking at limiting and setting essentially a standard for when the regular season has to occur, providing the opportunity for 2 bye weeks, all these things. I think that is something they have to corral, is this calendar. I mean, what are we looking at now? The next 2 years, the title game is going to be like January 25th. I mean, what are we doing, man?
We're almost at the same time of the Super Bowl. I mean, it's crazy.
It's crazy. And you know this. You coached for a long time, man. Football is a game that builds on itself. You can't, it's not a stop-start. It's you are growing as a team. You're getting better. You pick up on that momentum week to week. And so to kind of stop that, essentially what college football has turned into now is almost 3 distinct seasons, which it doesn't function, man. I don't like it. They got to corral that and fix that. The eligibility thing, I think they're actively working on, is figuring out some type of reasonable way to set an eligibility window. whether it be the 5 years to play, 4, whatever they've put out. Okay. I think they have to manage that. And then the money piece, because at the end of the day, there has to be some type of rules around the allocation of funds, or else what's going to keep happening is, and there's nothing wrong with this and not something I'm crying over or anything like that. The rules are what they are currently, and I respect the schools that are doing what they can to make their school competitive. But look at Texas Tech. They are well hilted in the donation department. Right. And schools that are in that same vein are giving themselves an opportunity to compete because they can pay the best. And I don't know that that's what any of us have signed up for, is just this kind of freewheeling, uncapped market that we're in. I mean, it's essentially like pro baseball in the college football space. So they have to put some type of parameter about that. And I'm going to give you a fourth one, Coach. And this is just me being an old timer and waxing poetic and being a rank sentimentalist, man. But the thing I love about college football is the regionality of it. And the stuff where I'm going to argue with the guy that sits in the church pew behind me about the team that he grew up loving, the team I grew up loving, because that's where his daddy went and took him to tailgate. And that's where my daddy went and took me to tailgate. And man, I just think we're losing that, right? Like Rutgers and UCLA, if I'm an alum of either one of those schools, how am I supposed to get excited about that matchup at 9:00 on a Saturday morning in LA? Like, plot on that, Coach, and what makes college football so singular and so special. And so those are the things for me that I think really need to get focused on by the leadership involved in the sport that we love.
And those are good, tangible points you mentioned, Seth, too. I think that's something that's very important for the typical fan to look at. And I do think as time goes on, because as you're speaking right now, I saw breaking news the other day that the NCAA is looking to go ahead and push back that the regular season actually starts during the dead week, and that gets the season started earlier. So that's one progression already that they're looking at doing. But getting the calendar set, to me, is what helps. It helps work around the one transfer portal window. You're not dealing with as much of the tampering issues that you're hearing about, things of that nature. I sit there and think to myself, who was the one caught this week on some tampering? Was it Iowa? I think that did you hear anything about the NCAA stepping in for them? So I don't know if they're going to be the stepping stone or, if they're going to be the head moniker for this, but, man, they're going to have a lot of things to be looking at if this is just the beginning of all the tampering issues that we're dealing with. But you're right, though, there has to be that framework, because if you really want to look at this with name, image, and likeness, we really got to just come down and say what it is. To me, we have contractual employees that are working for those institutions. And until you figure out some type of way to have some type of revenue share that has some type of cap on it, just like in the NFL, to where the amount that's allotted going out to each school, because LSU is another program that sold their soul to the devil, and Lane Kiffin coming out there, they're spending gobs of money on top of mounds of money to try to bring in this program to make it get back to perspective. I think what we can do as fans, and obviously being the fans of the Georgia Bulldogs, is that we've got Coach Kirby Smart as our head coach. And the one thing that he has done is he has retained rosters. He's maintained some civility with his players to make sure that he is developing them to get them ready for the NFL. He's not dealing with as many of the headaches because he's keeping kids happy by keeping them in the program and making them productive. And what you're going to see is something that can be sustained over time for the longevity of it, instead of being a one-hit wonder once every 10 years, which is what some of these guys are trying to do with the lightning in the bottle, similar to what he was doing at Ole Miss and what he's trying to do right now at LSU. Same thing a lot of these programs are doing. They're trying to buy in to see what they can get. Texas is trying to do it all they can right now out there. So I agree with you, Seth. There's a lot of good points making that right there. And of course, I would love to see all these things happen at one time, but at least baby steps of things happening could start bringing this back to a sense of normalcy as we move forward. Guys, this segment has been brought to you by Backer Equipment, gear worthy of your devotion. We'll be right back after this commercial break. Your devotion for outerwear and headwear through authentic gear of the Georgia Bulldogs, bckr.com. Backer Equipment, gear worthy. That was Backer Equipment, gear worthy of your devotion, kind of cut off there on the screen. Seth, man, it has been an awesome opportunity for you to be with me tonight. I would love for us to have a repeat time sometime when you can come back. I would love for that to happen. As always, for those of you who have stayed with us, we've had a lot of concurrent watchers tonight. We appreciate you being a part of the chat and bringing in your comments tonight. As always, we love talking the current events of what's going on in Georgia athletics, but obviously with G-Day coming up, we wanted to talk a little bit about what's going to be happening this Saturday. Seth, I would love for you to just give a chance to give a plug for what's going on with you right now, what you're about, how people can find you and reach you.
Yeah, so Coach, we started as a Georgia-focused podcast. We were the Saturday in Athens podcast, and through that, really, man, just fell more in love with college football as a whole. And so we transitioned to the Preferred Walk-On show, and now we cover the sport at large, and we even dip down into the FCS level, which my co-host and I are both passionate about. So, man, if you want to come hang with us and talk every level of college football, we'd love to have you. We love talking about it. We love the community of it. This is just a sport that gets in your bones and wakes you up all fall, man. So we love it. So if you want to come hang with us on YouTube or follow us on any of the social media channels, we are about to get real active again come May as we start this countdown to the fall. And look, man, if you're here, I can tell you you're my kind of people, because Coach Hayes absolutely aces. He's built in his light with his community. So I love being here with you, Coach. I really appreciate it, man.
Well, we appreciate you being with us tonight, Seth. As always, we're going to be talking about the current events of Georgia football. We will be back after the G-Day game and doing a quick rapid reaction of what we saw. I'm going to be down at the game, obviously, as part of Georgia Sports Autographs with a signing that's going to be taking place with the head man in charge there, the mailman. Stetson Bennett will be leading a robust group of gentlemen that'll be there signing autographs on Saturday morning from 9:30 to 11 o'clock. And then, of course, being in the stands with my family to, like I said, Seth, to get my little notebook and be writing down some personnel settings that I really want to see happen. Hopefully, what we've heard over the last month of spring practice. So I was going to go into the chat real quick to make sure we didn't have any questions, but for the most part, it looks like every question that was put out there, every statement that was put out there was definitely noted, and we appreciate you being with us this evening. For Seth Saunders, I'm Chris Hayes. We appreciate you being with us this evening. As always, take care, God bless, and go Dogs.
Go Dogs.